Welcome to the Scoop World Order. I hope you guys are having a great Thursday. We've made it. Thursday Night Football is tonight. We're going to break down some of the latest that we're hearing about the Michigan scandal. Why is all the coolness gone? Where'd all the bets go and all the snideness and all of the defiance? It's all melting like a snow cone in hell at this point. So it's really cool to see this about face. Again, I love the positioning, and I love that Nevadabuck's had this thing nailed. So this is going to be really fun as we get closer to the hammer falling on their heads. It's going to be excellent. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, take care of our sponsors. Buffalo Wild Wings and Twin Peaks have been excellent partners for us. If you guys are going out to watch Thursday Night Football, going out to watch football this Saturday, Sunday, go to those spots. They are excellent. I think they're the best sports bars in Columbus. They're absolutely fantastic to go to, work from, hang out at, have business meetings at. So again, take care of them. They are huge parts of the Scoop family. And they're the huge reason for we can do what we do. So again, I appreciate both of them very much so. And they know this because they see me all of the time. So again, take care of our sponsors. They are great people. And our meetups, our next meetup will be at Buffalo Wild Wings. We are trying to pin the date down. We should have that in the next week or two. And then we are working to get our next Twin Peaks date pinned down as well. So we look forward to seeing the Scoop family in person. Again, it'll be absolutely excellent. If you guys want to do something excellent for us, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or both, and leave us a 5-star review. Those are huge platforms that have been growing very quickly for us, and we appreciate you guys. Again, we podcast every single day, partially because we're crazy, but partially because we love to do it, and we love to bring you guys the freshest Ohio State content. And again, there's a reason why Buckeye Scoop has lapped the competition. It's because of you guys. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. And we feel very privileged to be a part of your day each and every day. So thank you for that. That being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevadabuck, it is getting very delicious as we talk about the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan, they are nothing but scumbags. Their fans are scumbags. Their people around the program are scumbags. People that support the people that like Michigan are scumbags. They're trash. And again, there's been this immense about face in the last about a month or so since the formal notice of allegation has arrived. There's no more tweeting bet. There's no more defiance. There's no more Jim Harbaugh. Again, Jim Harbaugh hates Michigan probably more than anyone on this earth. Thumbing his nose and giving the double bird to the NCAA. But there's been a lot of change that has gone on. And again, we've already gamed out what's happened. And we've gamed out the fact that the actual notice of allegations is very different from the draft notice that Pete Thamel linked. Talk a little bit about that, and why has Michigan all of a sudden gone quiet from their once defiant and bold stance?
Well, interesting things kind of going on with the Michigan case. We were the first one that broke the fact that Michigan had kind of re-engaged settlement discussions with the NCAA, and you have to understand the way that this thing works. When they got the draft NOA, the whole idea at that point was that they're presented with a draft of the notice of allegations, and negotiations continue, about settling it. And if they settle it, then there's never a formal notice of allegations issued. I believe they go right to findings of fact or fact finding, or so there's some sort of different word for it. But then that would be they'd lay out the allegations, the punishment, and a statement of fact. I believe that's what it was. But Michigan decided not to go to that. They decided to go to the formal notice of allegations route. And as has been reported, the formal notice of allegations is much more detailed than the draft one, and it basically lays out the entire case against Michigan, which is incredibly damning. And at that point, that's where Michigan really had kind of a come to Jesus between the Michigan legal board of regents and the Michigan administration regarding re-engaging with the NCAA. And what the issue is that Michigan had been so married to a narrative that this was nothing, that this was a nothing burger, this was a rogue agent, this was an isolated incident, that they're having trouble getting out of it. And so now what's going on is that Michigan legal has basically taken their position with the NCAA. The latest thing with the NCAA is, hey, they're trying to save 2023. They're willing to flush 2021. They're willing to flush 2022. They're willing to accept draconian go forward punishment, but they want to avoid 2023. And the way that they're doing that is they're trying to sell an idea to the NCAA that the only games that should be vacated from the past years were ones where Conor Stallions was directly involved in the recording and utilization of that recording. And because most of that stuff touches 2021 and 2022. The problem for them is that the Central Michigan game, the sideline disguise recording sunglasses thing was in September of 2023, and that's the big problem they have with their theory. No matter, even if the NCAA was to give them that and say, look, we're only going to go to games which Stallions was directly involved in, that he sent his parents or his idiot friend from the Navy or whatever it was to go record. The Central Michigan game in 2023 is there like a big a big turd in the punch bowl, and they can't get rid of that. And so for the Michigan, legal, they've basically come to the NCAA and said, look, that was Conor Stallions operating as a independent contractor. He was being paid a stipend from Central Michigan. That was not him in his official duties as a Michigan employee. And the NCAA has given no indication that they're buying any of this. So I think, for me, where are we right now and where do I think this thing goes? I think Michigan is so married to the narrative that they're going to have to take this to the end and then scream NCAA overreach. They're going to have to try to play the victim card with their fan base. Wow.
We lost Nevada for a second. He's coming back. Yeah, I think it's that's crazy talk. Like you can't say, oh, I'm employed by Michigan. And again, he had a real job. He was making $55,000-$60,000, which is like a third year young kid. That's a substantial payment for that young of a coach who isn't like the head coach's son or whatever, son-in-law. So I think the alleged, he was working as an independent contractor thing is patently hilarious that you would try to act like that would give you the right to do what he did. Because again, like I could say, well, I'm a staffer at Ohio State, but I also have a part-time job as a janitor at Schembechler Hall, and I clean the toilets and I vacuum the staff room after hours after all the coaches leave. Like, you don't think that would be some sort of a violation? Like, you don't think that they'd do some sort of a fact check if you're illegally accessing a point of a program that is either on the schedule or you're in-person scouting? Again, that's what's amusing to me is like, in what world do you think that would be allowable? Because don't you think that every team in the country all of a sudden would have all of these Goombas that are going around and saying, well, go be an independent contractor this week for one day on a Saturday, and have them pay you $100 to stand on the sideline in your coach's gear with sunglasses. Again, the stupidity of these people is mind-numbing. And again, it goes back to how stupid Michigan is. Because again, like Michigan, they've always acted like great academic institution, great degree, highbrow, eat their wine and cheese, which is why, like, when we used to go up there, like in the mid 2000s, and we would just curb stomp them, like, it always felt great because they're always like, not only like, there's nothing worse than someone who thinks that they're the smartest person in the world and they're actually the dumbest. That's Michigan right now. Like, Michigan, between Jim Harbaugh and his bluster and I've never lied and cheated, and my daddy told me he'd never lie and cheat. Well, dude, you got busted for cheeseburger. And again, you can't just play dumb. Like, that's the thing these guys don't get is, like, you can't just like feign remembrance and, oh, I don't know, I don't remember if that was me on the sideline, or that doesn't look like me on the sideline, or I don't remember eating a cheeseburger and milk at 7 a.m. at the M Go Blow Cafe or wherever that was the place. It's like you can't just misremember everything. You can't just I don't know, because when there's 8 people that are there and they all say you were there, and they can say, well, we actually have the receipt from when he had a cheeseburger and milk during the recruiting breakfast at 7 a.m. because he's the weirdest human being on earth because nobody eats a cheeseburger and milk at 7 in the morning. But it's like this. It's like this disease that's up there. And like, I keep pleading, and I hate Michigan, but like, when is some adult going to step up? And it sounds like it's happening now that they're actually starting to try to, take account of it. So like, look, guys, like, let's just cut the crap at some point and stop acting like everyone is the dumbest human being in the world. Even like if you're like the most ardent, moronic Michigan fan at this point, you got to be like, oh my God, this is the defense they're bringing. I didn't know that I was on the sideline. I was an independent contractor for, our rivals team. I've got all these. I sent my mom to the game. I sent my mom to the Rutgers, Illinois game and had her hold the camera out. And that's legal because you're allowed to buy, you're allowed to make $60,000 a year and spend $150,000 on tickets and stipends because normal people do that. I mean, that's fine. So again, like, you're allowed to start an LLC with the star player to sell used vacuums and have them out on your front porch. So you have to go to court against the homeowners association so that you don't look like the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm like, in life, like in football, there's a saying in football. When you're in the football office, if you're the O-line coach or the wide receivers coach or the head coach, you recruit your own problems. So if you bring in a kid who's dumb, like again, I used to always say, look, I don't care how big he is, how fast he is. I do not want to recruit a dumb player. When you bring in a dumb player, you can't fix dumb. And so when you bring in dumb coaches, and again, Jim Harbaugh was desperate. And again, at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh made out like a bandit because he got to kind of rebuild his stock after it had been hammered into smithereens by Urban Meyer. And magically, he gets to jet off to the NFL to the left coast as far away as possible from Ann Arbor. But like I said, if I ran Michigan, if I was the head of the Board of Regents, I would fire Ward Manuel, Sharon Moore, and every single person in the football program. I'd do today. I'd shut it down for the year. I'd say, you know what? We're good. We'll take the take it on the chin, or I just roll it out there with an interim staff and just try to fill the stadium up just so you can keep a little bit of revenue. But it's so bad at this point, and the thoughts and. Again, that moronic Conor Stallions documentary that comes out, and he's like, well, I'd do it all again. I don't know if that was me on the sideline. I actually did have, film. And again, in the era of iCloud and Dropbox and whatever, when you have all these video files, you have to upload them somewhere. And then Conor Stallions has to access them somewhere and download them and put them on his computer, put them on a hard drive. The hard drives that all vanished magically because, again, they had all this film on it. So, but again, once you're in Schembechler Hall and you're on the University of Michigan's Wi-Fi, then guess what? They're going to have copies of everything. So again, they're going to pull out these files and say, oh God, this really is like, this is like when they go to the cannibal's house and there's just dead bodies stacked up in the basement with bite marks in them. And they're just like, wow, he really did do all that. I mean, all these lies and alibis really didn't mean anything. So I don't know, but it's stunning that people still defend these. But again, you've seen this massive red tide all of a sudden where people aren't defending, like Pete Thamel and all these other morons that initially were like, well, it looks like it's not going to be too bad. It just looks there's not going to be much on the table. Like those things have ceased and desisted instantly because they know what's coming. And again, the bluster has died and the scoop has risen. So Nevada, your thoughts? Because again, it blows my mind how dumb the people are at the University of Michigan, but I know they're dumb. I know their fans are dumb. I know the people that support their fans are probably the dumbest human beings in the world. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, no, it's really been interesting how kind of the whole thing has kind of changed and how their attitude with the NCAA, um, the defiance and the threatening to sue and the impeding the investigation and the not reporting the information in a timely manner. I mean, they have really painted themselves into a corner right now, and I think Michigan legal's got a really daunting task of trying to navigate this for them and try to get them out of this because they can't be seen to be surrendering to the NCAA because their fans will just not accept it. They'll go crazy. I mean, if they put that 2023 national championship in jeopardy knowingly, like they accept that and that kind of goes, I think for the Michigan, they just feel like that's just unacceptable for them. But when the NCAA takes it, there's nothing they can do. And at that point, they just scream victim. They play overreach. They play, oh, this is so unfair. Other people do this is crazy. But then at least they don't own it. So I think when you really game this thing out in terms of what is their only play and what is their only path going forward, I don't think Michigan admin really wants to settle this because they know that the settlement terms that the NCAA is demanding from them on this are just for them it's a bridge too far, but it's appropriate. And so it'll be really I think where you could possibly see horse trading on this would be if somehow they I don't know. And again, this one I'm just literally just surmising on this, but what if they accepted a 4-year postseason ban going forward, but only lost 21 and 22? I don't know. I don't know where the NCAA is going to come down on this. I think we're all surmising, based upon past precedent, what we've heard from our contacts, and the severity of the punishment. But nobody can really predict with any certainty in terms of exactly what's going to happen going forward. But what I can tell you with 100% certainty, as the NCAA has displayed no flexibility with Michigan up to this point. I mean, they're not giving on anything, and I think that's really where I think Michigan felt like they could horse trade their way through this, and they're just not. They don't have any cards. They're playing with deuce 3 offsuit, or not even deuce 7 offsuit rather, and there's really no way to make a hand on this. So I'm not exactly sure what their path forward is other than to scream victim. And screaming victim is a very popular strategy in 2024. But I think Michigan's really going to. I think that's the only thing they're going to have going forward is play the victim card and hope for the best.
I mean, eventually it gets old because they've been defiant for so long, and we've been so far ahead of this. I'm like, guys, like what they did, because people, science, it's everywhere. It's a 3% advantage. Like I've heard the dumbest alibis and lies in since October, since we really started going on this thing, and I'm like, I've been in his shoes. I know exactly how Conor Stallions was thinking, and again, when you see how insane his parents are and how insane he is, I've been around people like that. They're just like Looney Tunes, like for a team. And he was like, how can I do this? How can I help this? How can I, again, because his entire life revolved around how accurately he could pick signs. That's his entire life. It wasn't, I can pick signs. It's like, no, I have to be 98%, 99%, 95%. And it wasn't some accident that like when he didn't have the signs versus TCU, they lost by 60. They got ran out of the gym, So I don't know how people defend it. I don't know how Ward Manuel still has a job. I'm flabbergasted at the lack of leadership at the University of Michigan. And again, I don't even care about Michigan, but like if that was our athletic director, oh my God, if we had a bad athletic director for the last 20 years who, Ross Bjork has showed up and magically money's flowing like the, like flowing in like water. And he's got all these great ideas and he's going to build a new football building. Like we got that inside scoop. This guy's killing it. So again, I've seen good, I've seen bad, and Nevada and I have been around a lot of successful athletic directors and the like, and people that are higher up in sports, team owners. So you kind of know what it takes. And again, these guys they're not all built the same. But I don't know. Like with Michigan, this whole, this season is going to go. It's the plane like careening into the mountain at this point. Again, they just got smashed at home. They've got a turd this week, but then. They got to get rolling versus good teams. And as I predicted, and I said 1,000 times coming into the season, when you're replacing all 5 starters on the offensive line, brand new quarterback, new receivers, all new staff, basically all you have is a tight end on offense. You have 3 quarterbacks they would all be like splitting routes with Aaron Noland on the 5th team at Ohio State. It's going to be a long year. And again, if you say, hey, we're going to be good because we got returning guys. We have a tight end, worthless. We have 2 D tackles, worthless, and a cornerback, worthless. You can't win with that. You need a quarterback. You need O-line. And you need edge rushers. That's the key to being great. In football, in modern football. You look at the really good teams, like they've got a pass rusher. You look at the Chiefs, they've got Mahomes, they've got Chris Jones at DT. That's what it takes to be excellent. And they've got and the Chiefs generally they have a great offensive line led by Creed Humphrey. So Nevada, any other thoughts? We don't have to get into the super chats yet. I do want to do one quick shout out real quick because our girl Andy Jo Taylor is singing the national anthem at the Browns game versus the Giants. She's not singing it because they're in Jacksonville. So shout out to Andy Jo. She's a huge Scoop family member along with Thomas and Sarah, her folks. So congrats, Andy Jo. Hopefully the Browns play better for you. The Giants actually might stink worse than the Browns. So it'd be nice if you could get a win and then they make you the permanent singer because maybe you could be bringing some good karma. But congrats to Andy Jo. Nevada, do you have anything to say to that?
Well, is that you on the right? Is that you with Andy Jo? There at a
God bless. I knew you were gonna say that. Even though I don't have brown hair, but the rest of it looks like me. Like that looks like me when I'm working 16 hours a day and I've got my hair's all messed up. My ears look like it. I look like Legolas from Lord of the Rings, and yeah.
You look pumped up there, dude. You look like you can bench press about 9,000 pounds right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got. They put out that Oreo flavored Ozempic, so it made me more ripped and shredded. So again, shout out Ozempic. Let's go. But no, that is not me. Believe it or not, because again, if I was wearing that on a day like that, I would be sweating so bad that Andy Jo would have just slid off me. Like she would just fell up. She'd have fell down the stairs, like tumbled down the stairs. So. No, that is not me. I'm not the elf. So, but that is a good call. That does kind of look like me. So
it does look like you. No, yeah. I love it. Well, congrats to Andy. That is great. That's quite an accomplishment. Browns doing it at a Browns game. I remember when the Kings used the same singer every time on their way to the Stanley Cup, and they kept bringing her back to sing the national anthem. So maybe this is the start of something with the Browns. We'll have to watch.
Who's the best anthem singer you've ever seen? Not Fergie, right? Fergie was pretty bad.
I mean, no, you got to go with Whitney Houston, right? Whitney Houston at the Super Bowl. I mean, isn't that widely regarded as the greatest national anthem of all time?
Probably. I don't know. I was asking you. You've got experience on me. Yeah. You'd know better than I would.
I think that's right. I'm going to go with Whitney Houston. Final answer at the Super Bowl. Best national anthem of all time.
See, I like our boy Leo Welsh at the Blue Jackets because when he comes out, they all yell Leo. Leo's great. But my favorite of all time is when the best damn band in the land does it before the game. That is the best because I used to be standing there and I was like, all right, we got like 3 minutes till it's go time, so we're gonna go win the coin toss, and that was like the last thing that we'd do before the coin toss. So I always like the best damn band in the land's rendition of it. We could dig into some super chats and then maybe break down some film. I got to keep an eye on Devon A-Chain to see if he's active or not because I got to get him in or out of the lineup. These little midget running backs always get hurt, man. It's crazy. JMatt217, thanks for the 5. Armstrong was stripped of the title. He may not have cheated. Gamers have been disqualified for awards they did not cheat on. The titles must go. Nevada OH. See, that's what I've been saying. Like Lance Armstrong got stripped of everything. He doped and he was juiced to the gills. And again, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, they are Lance Armstrong of, circa whenever that was 15 years ago when he's up there. I've never juiced. And also he has to do the Oprah interview. Well, actually I did juice. Actually, I juiced more than any human being in the world. And I just had better doctors and better whatever. But yeah, nobody looks at Lance Armstrong. And again, that's where I go with Michigan. Cause people with Michigan are like, well, they're great and nothing will get stripped. And I'm like, well, go to their arena and go look for the Fab Five banners. Those are all gone, So I think this title has to go, Lance Armstrong didn't get to keep his stuff when he cheated. And this is the same thing. This is no different. This is worse. I mean, when you're actually getting the signals and the plays, again, these guys, I don't know how deep it went, but when, the Cade Stover thing was something I've heard a lot from people in the Woody Hayes and players and coaches that I've talked to that are like, they had stuff that we have no idea how they had it. There's no way they could have it. And again, did they have the screen signal or whatever the thing is? Probably, So again, and you can only change the signal so many times because you're not dealing with, AI robots where you can just reprogram. You're dealing with kids, and a lot of these kids, frankly, I love them to death, but they're not the brightest kids. I mean, even if you change the signals every week for me, I would be slipping. I lived that when I was in the NFL. My rookie year, I was on 5 teams in 16 weeks. So I had to constantly relearn a playbook. And it's exceptionally difficult to do that. To learn a playbook that's got 150 plays in it, and you got to do it every month. And again, it's not just learn the play, it's learn the audibles to the play, the different ways to run the play versus, different fronts versus an even defense, an odd defense, bear defense, a blitz look. You got to know all these different rules, all these different checks. It's exceptionally difficult. So learning signals is the same thing. You got to learn it all on the fly, lickety split when it's a crazy environment, it's loud. So again, the signal thing for me is as bad as it gets because changing the signals not only is it a pain to come up with these signals, it's 10 times the pain to teach it to all the kids. Because again, that's where I always come from. Because as a guy who coached for a few years, for 3 years, graduate assistant, and I had to teach kids I had the whole winter and the whole summer to teach the playbook, teach the terminology, teach all the rules, and I would drill those kids to death, and I would test them to death, and I'd make them take tests, and I'd text them all night and say, hey, what do you do when you get this look and you have this front versus this blitz? And they would all have to rate me back. And if one didn't, I'd say, hey, where's your answer at? And it was a whole group just a group text. Hey, I want to see it as fast as possible. So again, to get all those signals back down, it would be terrible. So, but Nevada, your thoughts. Lance Armstrong was stripped of the, and again, thanks J-Matt for the 5. Lance Armstrong was stripped of the title. He may not have cheated. Gamers have been disqualified for awards they did not at all cheat. The titles must go. Nevada OH.
Yeah, look, if I was the guy deciding it, it'd be really simple. I think for the NCAA, you've just got a couple things. One, the NCAA doesn't decide who gets the Big Ten title. That's the Big Ten. The NCAA doesn't decide who gets the College Football Playoff Championship. That's the College Football Playoff Committee. Do they have influence? If they fail to recognize titles, if they vacate wins, do I think the logical conclusion from that is that the College Football Playoff Committee and the Big Ten, strip those from Michigan? Absolutely. But unfortunately, I'm not the guy that that renders the punishment. Do I think that's the way that it goes? I think it's the only way you can go. I mean, Michigan. Let's just talk about 2022 for a second. They scouted Ohio State in person 7 times that year. 7 times. So you've got, as you mentioned, you can say all you want about, hey, Ryan Day should have changed his signals and he should have done that. But when they've done it 7 times, they've got just about everything you do. And as you said, you can't change everything. You can't change every signal that you've ever had. You may change it from the week before or 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, but you can't have 14 different signaling packages for these kids to all remember and expect guys that aren't exactly all Rhodes scholars to remember exactly what the signals are for play. And that's especially effective on, defense versus offense. And that's what happened in that 2022 game. All of a sudden, somehow we ran through them the first half, and in the second half, we couldn't do anything. Absolutely couldn't do anything, despite all those weapons and all those guys and the potential future NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, 3 points in the second half or whatever it was. I've said it a million times, but that will always remain the wonkiest game. I never understood that game, but now I understand it perfectly. They were cheating. And that kind of stuff, obviously went on in 21, was all rampant through 2022. And until Conor Stallions was fired in 2023, he was on the freaking sideline at Central Michigan. So the cheating was clearly continuing to go on. It should have cost them games against Rutgers and other people along the way. They should have never been able to qualify for the College Football Playoff Championship. And I think all that stuff's got to go. So, yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with that.
Yeah, and the thing that made this easier than it had been is that everything in college football has gotten shorter from a play calling perspective, especially on offense and even on defense, because these coaches have gotten a lot sharper, led by a guy like Urban. Urban was a genius, and he He brought in learning specialists, and I sat in the meetings with learning specialists. Literally, it was all the coaches and Urban Meyer. You know, we had 4 learning specialists come in and basically clinic us on how to teach. You know, because Urban, like I said, Urban was the Steve Jobs of college football. He was maniacal, insane, drove you absolutely crazy, but he was a literal football genius. So, you know, we learned shorter is easier. And again, the guy that really started this in the Woody Hayes was Jim Tressel, because when we got ready to play the Arkansas Razorbacks in that Sugar Bowl, we all of a sudden, you know, this was the emergence of, this is right when Twitter came out and right when social media had gone from, you know, like message boards are going from big to short to, you know, Twitter's 130 characters. So he recognized that, you know, the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, 30-second video clips, TikTok, TikTok obviously is around back then, but, you know, everything keeps getting shorter and shorter. So, he surmised that these kids' attention spans were shorter. So all of a sudden, instead of, you know, the old school John Gruden West Coast offense where it's like, all right, we're going to go, scat right, Z, flanker drive, bubble to Z, 2 looky, kill, 356, magnum, X, hook, Y, cross, Z, dingo, or whatever. Like, that was like what an old play call sounded like. And now, like, a play call is like duck, duck, kill to book. And you're like, really? That's it, like those, like when you say the word duck, it tells everybody the formation, the play, everybody, whatever it has to do, you know, and then you can it to book, and book tells everybody the same play. So like, again, like that's what football became. So when all of a sudden that's what is the signals, you know, everything got smaller and shorter and easier. And a guy like Kevin Wilson, who's another football genius, you know, these guys that started to steal signs, they figured out, you know, when we would signal these really long signals and all these little gyrations, that was always like a pass because it was so long, because there were so many different things you had to signal. Or when we do like something real quick, it'd be a run. So again, like when the stuff got shorter, it got easier to pick. But even still, you know, you can only have so many different variations of it because you have to have all these kids learn it. And, you know, the hard part is when 1 week, you know, if the player's real name is Book, and one day this is the signal, like you're opening a book, and then the next day it's, you know, like you're putting it on the shelf, and then the next day it's like you're lighting it on fire, whatever. Like, I mean, it gets confusing to the kids. So again, it's a total hassle. The guys knew that it was going on, but still, you have to get the kids to kind of flush their old memory of the signals down the toilet, and keep the fresh ones fresh, which again, it's easy to say that for us when we're sitting, you know, in our living rooms watching Buckeye Scoop and thinking about it, as opposed to in the Horseshoe or at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley or in the big house and it's loud. And you got to remember, well, I can't remember if that signal is Book or if that's Bible or if that's whatever, you know, because we had like all these different plays that all this, like we had like Book, Bible, pamphlet, and they're all different read options that we used to run. So, but yeah, it's a pain. Buckeye Blitz, thanks for the
Kirk,
5.
Kirk. Before you go to the next one, I got a question for you, because I want to ask this question. I don't want to forget the question. Do you believe for a second that Conor Stallions was able to walk out on the field for his game at Navy and just start picking Ohio State sign and shouting him out to the Navy sideline as he was sitting there, and because he was such a savant that could pick signs immediately from the sideline?
No, there's no way. No. But I think that back then it was much easier to pick signs because I would bet my house that Luke Fickle was the live signaler. So there's one guy, and then he had these idiot, you know, interns like Ron Miles. I still remember.
But do you believe Conor Stallions was able to walk on the sideline and pick signs?
No. There's no chance. No, there's no chance. I mean, you could do it from the box, maybe, like I did. I mean, I did it from the box, but I wasn't standing on the field where there's 100 guys lined up on the other sideline and looking at the 6 guys signaling and say, okay, which one is that? And, you know, there was something prior to that, you know. And again, that's just, again, there's a lot of holes in a lot of these stories that are just, if you're like me and you know football, and you know the operations inside of a football building like the Woody Hayes or the Schembechler Hall or a major college football program, the things he said were so impossibly stupid that I literally can't even breathe. I can't even believe that someone would even attempt to say that when you've got someone like me on the other side that's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me get my machine gun out and blow you away as you say something that dumb. Like when he said he went to the Michigan High School Football Clinic on a Friday and met the linebackers coach on a Friday, and the guy said, oh yeah, we'll just show up on Monday and we'll get you a job. Like that doesn't happen. You don't just show up and no background check, hey, let's interview you. Like that's not how it happens. Like they don't just say, oh, well, yeah, you seem great. We've known you for 15 minutes and met you at this big clinic where there's, 2,000, high school coaches hanging out. And I've never seen you before, but hey, you seem pretty swell. Come on into Schembechler Hall and we'll give you a laptop and we'll give you access to everything. And we don't know anything about you, but no. He said someone gave those guys the heads up. Hey, this guy knows how to steal signs. Dying to be a Michigan guy. He's really good at there was something to that. It wasn't just, well, I met him and he loved me and he said, show up on Monday and we'll give you something to do. That's not how it works. Again, I worked at the football building. You got to get background checked, scanned. I mean, the amount of liability that happens when they bring you into a football program is humongous because of the Jerry Sandusky thing. It made everything way harder to get hired. So you have to pass all these background checks and it takes time and HR and you don't just get to show up and work, but again, if you're stupid, then you might buy it. If you're a Michigan fan or somebody who is in love or makes love to Michigan fans all the time and you're that stupid, you might believe that. But around here, there's nobody that's killed more narratives than us. I mean, it's unbelievable what we do on the show because people, from the Ohio State media to Conor Stallions to whatever, we just destroy those things. And I mean, and that is you want to talk about insanity. And again, he loves to sell this stuff. Again, you keep looking at it. Well, I don't know if that was me on that sideline. I don't know. I just walked across the sideline and I started picking all the signals. I started talking to the D coordinator and saying, oh, it's run right. Oh, it's power right. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And again, the flip of it is on offense. I know who the signaler was. I know who all the signalers were in 2014. I know all of them. And I can tell you who the signalers were. So how do you know which one's live? It's a lot easier on defense when Luke Fickell is the guy that's signaling, but down there they had Zach signaling. I know the interns that were signaling, and they rotated who was live. They would say Drew Maringer is live or Zach Core is live, whoever. I know who they were. Parker Fleming is live, whoever. They're all the interns back then, GAs back then. So they'd be down there signaling, but they would rotate who was live every quarter. So how's Conor Stallions going to stand over there and pick it magically live in the game? There's just no chance. All right. Is that good? Before my head explodes.
Perfect.
All right. Buckeye Blitz, 6 for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Can you do a film breakdown of Reed Gherkin, 2027 Ohio offensive lineman? It's been offered by all of the MAC already. 6'5", 290 pounds. Massive. Possibly a future Buckeye, Nevada OH. I'm going to have to get his film. I will dig it up and make sure that I break that down. Hopefully tomorrow. I'll try to remember Reed Gherkin and rip that. So Nevada, I know that nobody in the world hates offensive linemen from Ohio more than you do. That's your bugaboo. You wish that they were all from out of state and they were fat and lazy from the South or wherever. And a 3-star from the South is equal to a 5-star from Ohio. But are you okay with us taking an Ohio offensive lineman?
Dude, I would not have a tree in the grove if it were not for Ohio taking unknown Ohio offensive linemen. So, yes, I am fully supportive. Yep. Let's go. Let's go right now. We are having a tree trimming this year to around things, so people want to huddle around, and we're going to sing songs, and we're gonna dress our tree around Christmas time. And so, yes, I am fully supportive of any offers to Ohio linemen, and big fan, and I love our tree. I'm going to show our tree a little bit of love when I come out there. I'm going to bring a little mulch and bring a little tree grow and some stuff like that. Bring a little tree vitamins for it before the Michigan game, so it grows nice and big and strong and becomes a giant tree. It'll be a mighty oak someday, I believe.
Is there any way we could hire have someone make a special appearance? I mean, that's in the budget. We're doing all right. Is that okay?
That's very possible. That's very possible. Yes.
Because I honestly was thinking for a celebrity appearance. The perfect celebrity would be for our tree to make an appearance.
Who?
Jessica Alba.
Ooh, man, I'm not sure we have enough in the budget, but if we do,
Just leverage. We're gonna hire Jessica Alba,
man.
and I'm also gonna put in a 100 play video poker machine.
Man, that is.
And I'm gonna hire Wolfgang Puck to make on site beef Wellingtons.
Yeah, I would never. I would never leave. I would never leave, man. I would never leave that place. That's what heaven is like for sure.
And then I'd also have crack streams going for the UFC fight too. You'd be like, oh my God, Kirk, is this heaven?
I'm not paying. I'm just not paying.
Uncle Dana. Allegedly.
Uncle Dana, if you're listening, I'm not paying.
Uncle Dana, I'm going to be in the front row at the El Noche Dorito Fest on Saturday. El Noche Diablo or whatever it is at the Sphere. I'm the big guy. I'm the big guy that looks like Donald Trump. I'm the big guy that looks like Tom Brady. So if you have something, come yell at me.
I'm not paying $69.95, man. I'm not paying it.
69? It's like 90. Dude, Danny's gonna pay for the Sphere. They know there's no way that it's only $69. I could be wrong. No. But I mean I don't think that they're like 80. I know you don't look. I do.
I don't know, but I have no idea. Yeah, I will. I just on principle, I will not pay. I will not pay.
I'm literally looking it up right now.
Allegedly.
But the best thing in the world is that our partners literally get it. Buffalo Wild Wings and Twin Peaks, they all get the UFC fights. Which again, that's why they're the superior sports bars, because they get UFC. I love watching UFC. It's the greatest thing ever. All right, but Buckeye Blitz, I appreciate you. I will look up Reed Gherkin. Quinn Tucky, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Nevada, game this thing out. Who is the enough name waiting for all of this to be finalized and ride into town with the white hat to save the Michigan football program? So Nevada, if they had to hire somebody, who do you think it would be?
I mean, I don't know if there is a white hat on this one. I mean, I just don't. I mean, you think about it. They already kind of used their one phone a friend when they brought in Jim Harbaugh, and that was going to be the big thing that happened. And then Harbaugh just got violated by Urban Meyer and Ryan Day.
Yeah,
and I mean, Harbaugh had literally. His strategy was, let's see, they canceled the game. I mean, I still can't believe they got away with canceling that game in 2020 because he didn't want to get beat by 100 points. And that great Ohio State team would have just absolutely humiliated those guys. But no, I mean, I'm not even sure where they can go now because there's nothing left. I mean, there's nobody up from an admin side that can save them. There's nobody from a football side that can save them. There's nobody from a coaching side that can save them. Their recruiting base is the state of Michigan, which is just, I mean, we talk about Ohio having trouble. Man, Michigan is really having trouble in terms of producing players, and they've got a national brand now that is kind of a laughing stock. So I'm really not sure what the path is forward for them, but to become Purdue or something like that. I mean, I think that's where they, I said before this year, and I put my money where my mouth was when that line came out, and it was like 9.5 wins in a regular season. And I said, no chance. No way they're winning 9.5 games in a regular season. And that thing got bet down to 8.5. Now they're offering a 7.5 line on that thing, which again, you talk about line movement of 2 games in a regular season, it's just enormous. But it just goes to show you where they're at as a program right now. They're in deep trouble. And you roll those quarterbacks into Columbus in November against this defense, and the most hostile. I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that will be the most hostile environment that's ever existed in that state. I mean, the amount of hate and vitriol and just pent up frustration from the OSU fan base, knowing that Michigan cheated the last 3 years, and knowing that what we've had to sustain as a football program due to Michigan's cheating, and we get to take it out on the field and watching that. I mean, with all due respect to your 1 versus 2 game, which in my opinion is the greatest game ever played in the stadium, going to say that right now, in terms of intensity, in terms of hate, in terms of just sheer out, kind of terror, I think this year is going to be number 1. I really do.
I mean, I can see it. I mean, the only thing that sucks is that Harbaugh's not there. Because he ran because he knew he was going to take a whooping this year. So, but yeah, I mean, I know that. I mean, these guys are just so. They're kind of like the Michigan 03 team that had John Navarre and they had all those guys that had lost in 01, 02, and they're trying to get a win to ride off to the sunset. And that's how Jack and these guys are. Jack Sawyer and Trey and Mecca. I mean, they don't want to go, with the big goose egg, at the end of their career. And I mean, they've got, what is it, like minus 1,000 now on the money line? I mean, that's a huge number. That's like Alabama versus Wisconsin tomorrow. It's like minus 1,000, which is, that's a huge, that's 20-point spread almost. So yeah, it's gonna be a beatdown. Because again, Ohio State is terrifying on offense. And I mean, this is the most complete Ohio State team I think I've ever seen. And again, the talent at the skill positions on offense is as high end as I've ever seen. The totality of the defense, the physicality of the defense is as good as I've ever seen. And again, it's not because I'm just trying to play superlative bingo. I think that when I watch these guys, and there's some guys that need to play better. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like we need more out of JT Tuimoloau. Like, I mean, he's the number 1 player in the country, and it's closing time on his career. So if he could ever find that next gear, then I think that will be even better. But I mean, outside of the free runner sack that he had week 1 versus Akron, like I don't feel JT the way that I thought we would feel him when we were recruiting him, and I could be wrong, but yeah, I think Jack Sawyer is light years better than JT at this point. And I think that if he could turn up to where he needs to be, then I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what anyone's gonna do if they can get him going, because there's some guys that are balling, but even still, our defense is just suffocating. And that's with, not the amount of production that we're not getting out of JT yet. So it'll be interesting. Pooh Bear 12, I hope you're doing good, my friend. Thanks for being an Ultra member. Thank you. I hope you're having a great Thursday, and appreciate all of your hilarious questions, because you're always one of my favorites on here. Chris Stapleton's national anthem had me in tears. Chris Stapleton is awesome. I mean, he kills the game. I loved his anthem as well. Andy Jo Taylor's awesome. She sings the anthem at the beginning of our Scoop thing. So again, we're very, very pro-America, and we're very patriotic on Buckeye Scoop, and we're not scared to do it. Like, we're not like some of these other moron sites that never mention how proud they are to be Americans. Because again, I love this country, and I think it's great, and I think that there's morons that are trying to destroy it. But again, we are very thankful for the first responders, our police officers, firefighters, especially our military members. And again, we get so many nice notes from people all over the world that are deployed, that this is what they listen to, when they're passing the time, when they got a little bit of downtime. And so we don't take that for granted. So again, I love great national anthems. I think they're fantastic. Nevada, have you ever heard Chris Stapleton's national anthem? And then thank you, Pooh Beard.
I'd have to call that one up. I mean, I'm sure that I have, but I'd have to call that one up. I do like those national anthems. I do like those displays of patriotism. I was getting kind of choked up. I watched a video of when the Packers played, and it's after 9/11. The Packers are playing, and they have an Air Force reservist was one of their active players, and he came out, carrying the American flag when he ran on the field and was waving it. And what a great moment. And I just, you just wish as a country that we could get back to that time when everybody was so proud of the country. And, it took a terrible tragedy to bring us to that. But you love the feeling, you love the feeling of everybody kind of being behind the country. And I miss that. But that, if you haven't seen that Packers thing, man, it's something else, because, a lot of emotion. Lambeau's kind of for anybody who hasn't ever been to Lambeau, you got to make a trip. If you're a football fan, doesn't matter if you're a Packer fan, if you're just a football fan, that's the ultimate football pilgrimage, is to go to Lambeau Field and watch that. And that was something special.
Honestly, my favorite national anthem by far, now that I think of it, outside of the shoe, when I'm just like a spectator, not a player, is the Chicago Blackhawks. And Brandon Faber, who's one of my dear friends, He was the media relations guy there. He was fantastic when they had Kane and Taves and Hosa, and they won all those championships. I went to the Stanley Cup Finals when they played the Flyers, when they played the Lightning. And in Chicago, like if you guys are hockey fans, they cheer the entire national anthem, which is like, it's really cool. But like when it's the Stanley Cup Finals, it is like nuts, and it is so loud. I don't know how that tradition started, but Jim Cornelison sings it, and I was like, Google that one, because like their anthem and the team entrance is unbelievable. They come out to The Beautiful People, Marilyn Manson, and it is nuts. And that place about falls down the Madhouse on Madison. So shout out to my boy Brandon. He's a big Buckeye, so that's my dude. Sergio Osama, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Vacation of the fake natty is the only punishment that matters. Anything less is an effing joke. Ward needs to push away from the buffet table. Yeah, he's a big dude. And again, finding the fat Ward Manuel photos is always kind of the highlight of my day when I'm building this show out with Nevada. But yeah, I don't know how they keep the natty if they vacate all those games. You know, if they vacate 7 games in the season, like how can you possibly keep the national championship? Would you be like, 4-0 or whatever the record would end up being if they only vacated however many games, but it seems pretty obvious. And again, I think that's going to be real interesting, because I think that you can't like keep, again, it's like the fishermen that got caught with the lead. They were putting lead weights inside the fish, and they won all those tournaments, and they won millions of dollars in prizes. And then finally, like these fishermen are just like, what's going on? And the one guy like takes his little knife out and he cuts the fish open and pulls out like a bunch of dumbbells. These fish, and they're just like those guys didn't get to keep their trophies. Like, is that cheating? Is that only getting 3% of an advantage when you put 10 pounds of lead inside the fish? You're like, yeah, we won. We get the big check for $1 million. And they're like, wow, these guys just happen to catch the biggest fish at every single tournament. That's amazing. Like that's Michigan football right now. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Sergio, appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being always being on here, and thank you for the 5. Vacation of the fake natty is the only punishment that matters. Anything less is an effing joke. Ward Mando needs to push away from the buffet table. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always been of the opinion that there's going to be backwards going and forward looking penalties for Michigan. I think the title thing, I've kind of come full circle on the title thing or I should say maybe 180 degrees in the title thing, because when it first started breaking, I was really of the opinion that was not something that was probably on the table. And now I think it's firmly on the table. I don't like you said, I don't see how you avoid it when you lose games in 2020. Even if you lost one game in 2023, I don't know how you can possibly have stayed eligible for the college football playoff championship and nor the Big Ten title. And I think that those got to go. So, sadly, I'm not on the committee that makes that decision, but I think it follows the logic train. Let's put it that way, because I think you've got to lose the first 7 games. I don't think it's just one. I think you've got to lose every game until Stallions was gone. And when that happens, I don't see how they're even eligible to play. And Ward Manuel is fat, no question.
Kentucky, thanks for the 5. Marvin Gaye, NBA All-Star Game. That's a great one. Good call. God, I love this show. This is so good. Best rendition of the national anthem, Marvin Gaye, NBA All-Star Game. Yeah, that was strong. I remember that one. So that's a great one. Nevada, do you remember that one?
Again, remember it, but I'd have to go back and refresh my memory. Because again, Whitney Houston's just so iconic. But the Marvin Gaye one was really good, even though I'm not as big a fan of the NBA as I am of the NFL. So maybe I'm kind of more inclined to listen. Plus, I believe I'd have to go back and listen to that to give it a fair comparison. But that certainly was iconic as well, no doubt.
Betty Boy, thanks for the 10. 20 through 17 is ran through them in the first half. Also, if they had everything already, why would they take a half? At the end of the day, they beat 5 top 10 teams covered and won the chip. No Stallions. Yeah, but I mean, they still, they had people on the staff. Here's the thing. This is, when people say, well, they won everything without Conor. I'm like, there were other people in that building that knew what he was doing. And again, I would bet a lot of money that they knew exactly how to do what he was doing because I'm sure that he taught them. Again, I've sat in those staff rooms where they're just like, wow, Connor, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just picking all these signals. Can you teach me how to do it? Sure. Actually, you know what would be better is if you helped me. Give me let's get, instead of just me doing all of the work, how about we all take a game and then we all report back what we think and what we have and what we got. And, again, there's a lot of young bodies in that building that are trying to make it in coaching. And when they're all working for free as interns and all of a sudden Conor Stallions figures out a way to make $60,000 in 1 year, again, he went from being an unpaid intern to being a full staff recruiting guy. Every one of those young unpaid guys would be trying to learn how to do what he did. And I'm sure he's probably teaching him because, again, Connor, Mr. Manifesto boy, was trying to figure out, well, who could I make my dream Michigan coaching staff of? Oh, man, I'll make you my D-line coach, and I'll make you my offensive coordinator, and I'll make you the tight ends coach, and you'll be my recruiting guy, and you'll be my chief of staff. And, yeah, we're going to take Michigan to the top. And, so I'm sure that there were people on that staff that after he left, they still knew how to do it. Again, when you get something that's that proficient to give you that dominating of an edge, you're not doing that in some silo in some vacuum. They're literally going to say, "Hey, you get to teach all of us," or again, because if I was doing it, I would say, "Dude, if you could help me break down some of this film and break down some of these signals, that would be great." Because doing it every single week and trying to crack the code, even if you're very talented, if you could have 3 other people help you do it, it's going to be way better. When I used to break down film with Drew Maringer, who's the tight ends coach at Oregon, Drew would do all of the coverage stuff and I would do all the front stuff. So I'd type in the blitzes, I'd type in the fronts, and he would type in the coverages. So we would work together and we would get the stuff done twice as fast. And if I had to do everything or he had to do everything, I was like, look, I know the fronts really well, the coverages really well, and I'll just let's bust this tape down real quick. So I'll do all that, you do all that, and again, we got everything done in half the time because we had a system. So again, if you're trying to crack codes and figure out what all these things are, and even if figuring out who the live signaler is, that takes time. So again, I'm not convinced. People say, "Oh, well, Connor, they still won without Connor." I'm like, yeah, right. Come on, guys. Let's be really smarter than that one. Nevada, you have anything to add to that?
Look, I think that's the most ridiculous argument. I'm going to argue it on 2 paths here. One, when you use an ineligible player, it doesn't matter whether that ineligible player scored 7 touchdowns, completed 1 pass, kicked 17 field goals, or made 1 play or whatever. You forfeit the game. You use an ineligible player. Doesn't matter. Ineligible player, everybody accepts that. Well, this is an ongoing cheating scandal that didn't just affect those games. And forget the games going forward, whether it affect. I'm talking about the games that he was there. What cost Ohio State the national championship in 2015? Losing to Michigan State. What cost them the national championship in 2017? Losing to Iowa. What happened in 2018? 14-1, lost at Purdue. It's not always the big games that trip you up on the way to the championship. So I would submit that them escaping at Rutgers when Stallions was cheating and Greg Schiano lost his mind at halftime, that was every bit as impactful as the Penn State game or the Ohio State game or Alabama or whatever. You cheated to get to that path. If you cheated on 9 tests to get to the final, but then you don't cheat on the final and you get 100, that doesn't excuse the fact that you cheated on the test on the way up. So I think it's a ridiculous argument. I absolutely believe they would have tripped up along the way. They would have lost that Rutgers game if Stallions wouldn't cheat. They would have lost that Rutgers game. And if they lose that Rutgers game, none of this happens. Everything after that is irrelevant. They don't make the Big Ten title. They don't win they don't go to the college football playoff. None of that happens if they lose that game. And they don't win that game if Stallions isn't cheating. So it's a ridiculous argument. I think that has absolutely zero validity. And just look at history to see if you need any indication of that. So dumb argument.
Totally agree. Christian Bauer, thank you for the 5. Feels like this is centered around hitting Harbaugh with wanting the Natty vacation. The only way he can be punished is wiping out his achievements. I agree. I mean, I think that's a nice achievement. It's a nice parting gift for Jim Harbaugh's era to have his vacation taken off the board. And I think that the way that he's thumbing his nose at the NCAA, I don't think it's going to help them keep that. So that'll be really interesting to see how that works. I appreciate you, Schmidt Bauer. You're the man when you're at the WAC. Nevada, your thoughts. Our boy Chris Schmidbauer, again, next with five, he says, feels like this is centered around hitting Harbaugh with wanting the natty vacation. And again, I just think that that's fair. You know, like if you cheat at a poker tournament and they find it out, they don't let you keep the bracelet and the winnings. That's kind of what life is. Like if you're gonna cheat, like Lance Armstrong doesn't get to keep his Tour de France trophies. You know, again, this because again, there's a decided advantage based on what they did. So this isn't, you know, even if it wasn't Michigan, like there's got to be a severe penalty with what they did. Because again, you can't let this happen again. But what are your thoughts about it? Are they trying to punish it and take Harbaugh's natty away and wipe his achievements?
Well, yes, no, and yes. So, I mean, yes, they want to take away Harbaugh's thing, but no, it's not just focused solely on Harbaugh because this is a classic case of lack of institutional control. They want to punish the institution, and one of the few ways you can punish the institution is by vacating their accomplishments. And for Harbaugh, I mean, Harbaugh got a year suspension for Cheeseburger Gate. A year suspension. I mean, I know we've mentioned that before, but I'm not sure if people can really wrap their minds around what an unprecedented severe penalty that was. And it doesn't matter whether he's there or not. You just got to look at the severity of the punishment. Harbaugh may very well get a lifetime ban from college football. He may very well get a lifetime ban. You say, well, that doesn't matter. He's not going back to college football, and he doesn't care. That means that's a nothing burger. Dude, it's a shame. He's got the mark of the eternal shame of the cheater, and I think they're going after all his accomplishments. I think they're going after everything they can to kind of discredit the guy because he has continued to thumb his nose at the NCAA. He actively impeded the investigation. He failed to cooperate, and he's a serial cheater. And I think that they're going to go after him. But it's not just a Harbaugh thing. They're going to get Michigan too. Because it's even with Harbaugh being gone, that's the entire institution and administration is corrupt, and they've got to clean it out root and stem.
Totally agree, and I like that. That's like a little Game of Thrones. Rip it out, root and stem. Madness Prime Entertainment, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my dude. Hope you're doing good. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Does it get any better than hearing that song play when they form Script Ohio? After which our national championship team takes the field. Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I love the stadium anthem. I love the dude flying down the ramp trying to get the flag tied. That's always great. Because I always kind of bet if he keeps his hat on or not, because he gets his hat on, he's going to run down that ramp and go and tie the thing up and then get to the point where he can salute and they all salute together. So I love the anthem in the stadium. It's my personal favorite. If it wasn't Ohio State affiliated, the Blackhawks won for sure. And when they're really good, it's really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, to that, you've been there. I mean, you're going to see the Michigan game. You're going to see what I think is the best anthem easily in college football.
Well, what do you think about like quick cows and all that stuff that are not coming out in the Hive and the break dancing before the games and stuff like that? What do you think about that?
There's a reason why it's gone, it's just like, because again, like, not only did I not like it, but like a lot of the guys that did it were guys that didn't even play. It was, you'd have all these reserves out there, like, twerking and, pee popping on the dance floor. And I'm just like, why? Like, I mean, you guys don't want to get ready to play football, right? This isn't, you're not, this isn't like a mating dance. This isn't, because again, we live in this Instagram generation where people do all this stupidity for coolness or for likes or whatever. And I'm like, guys, like, this is about, like, it's about to go down out here. Like, this is about to be a fight. This isn't, and we'd have these 5th string wide receivers out there twerking. And I'm just like, why are they even on the trip? Just leave them at home. They're not going to play, They might fair catch on the 3-yard line, but other than that, that's about all they're going to add to the table for today. And and again, Brandon Ennis is the answer for all things return game. And the other guy that should be on there is Lorenzo Sales Jr. Period. Those are the 2 guys. All those other guys can get deleted. Thanks. Benny Boy, thank you for the 2. How could they know any list where allowed on the field? I don't know what that means. Benny Boy 5, if cheating is what made them good, then how did they beat 5 top teams, covered, won the chip, did it with no analysts on the field or a head coach because they had the signs. It doesn't matter if the head coach. Okay, I told you the head coach on game day. He's got to motivate. He's got to give the speech. But once all the practice is done and the game plan is done, coaching on game day is the easiest part of their entire week. Everything else they do is way harder than that. So this is not a big deal. All right, Nevada, we can wrap this thing up. Nice long show tonight. Any final thoughts?
No, just it'll be really interesting to continue to follow this thing. We got some great sourcing on this, and I'm going to be interested to see how, if any of these settlement talks kind of gain any traction as they're kind of going forward. But I love watching the realization of what Michigan's facing kind of creep in, and you guys are getting a chance to watch it play out in real time. I'm still expect the NOA to. I'm shocked in these days and time that it hasn't dropped, but it should just tell you how much they've had to get the Michigan media in line, that they've been able to kind of keep this thing under wraps this long, and it just shows you how really bad and how damning this was for Michigan, because had this thing been anything less than that, it would have been leaked in a second, and they would have settled in a second. And so that should tell you all you need to know about what's going on with the Michigan.
Well, it's funny because we've lived in a world, me and you personally, where when the truth comes out, there's some people that don't want that leaked because that doesn't fit their narrative. It's actually the exact opposite of the narrative, because there's a lot of times there's this false trash narrative that comes out that's full of lies, and then when the final bill comes due, it turns out it was nothing but lies. And there's some people that don't want that out, and they'll pay a heavy price to make sure that does not get out, because again, it might screw their narrative. But again, people with brains could figure out what really happened and who the real winners are in that situation. So, all right, Nevada. Well, we can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just great day to be a Buckeye, and I'll be watching Alabama laying the points against Wisconsin this weekend because Wisconsin is dreadful. Wisconsin traditionally is.
You're not going to that, are you? You're not going to that, are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just laying the points, man. I'm going to be watching from the comfort of my home with my betting ticket in my hand. It's also, you got UFC 306 on Saturday, man. I'm not leaving anywhere to go.
You're not leaving the crib.
UFC 306. Come on,
Dog-son Poppy. We need you, baby. We are out on Chinese fighters, but other than that, we're great. No Chinese fighters. No, I'm good. I'm 0 for 2.
No.
All right, let's wrap this. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for kicking it with us tonight. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate all that you guys do to grow this channel. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great Thursday. Thursday is my favorite day of the week. Great football starting tonight. Some college football has already kicked off, so we're going to get into all of it as we always do. And I just appreciate you guys so very much. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, the growth of this channel is something we don't take for granted. We appreciate you guys taking care of our first responders with our Pay It Forward program. Again, we've signed up a ton of people to the site. That goes directly into BuckeyeScoop.com, where we add new members. If you think you qualify for a Pay It Forward membership due to your experience in the military, as a first responder, as a police officer, BuckeyeScoop@gmail.com is where you can inquire. We've got a couple quick questions. We ask for a military ID or an ID from your branch, and then away we go, and we can hook you guys up. So thank you guys for that, as always. So again, appreciate you guys. We will be back in at 7 tomorrow, as always. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.